what would it look like if we found those players in our market that are solving it through a consulting perspective, that already have the framework, that already have the trust of the client, but are lacking the accountability mechanism.
Revenue boosters, tips now in the fast lane. Watch your profits grow. Welcome to the Rev Up Podcast.
Welcome to the Rev Up Podcast. I am so excited. Today we have Tate joining us. She is the Chief Marketing Officer at Leadr, and Leadr is a training and software to accelerate team performance. They're doing some incredible things with no paid marketing, and they're generating over $1 million through a partner channel in just 9 months. So I'm so excited to learn from her about her experience. Holly, welcome to the Rev Up Podcast.
Thanks, Greg. I'm glad to be here. This is fun.
Yeah, well, before we jump into what you've learned at Leadr, tell us, how did you decide to join Leadr?
Yes, I call it a short yet winding road. So like many of us who were having an identity crisis in the middle of 2020, I was too. So I started my career in radio sales, which I only did that for a year, but I say that if you can sell air, then you can sell anything. So I'm really grateful for that year of experience. I was super young and got to learn a lot really fast. But that job actually led me to where I was for 9 years, which was staffing and executive search. And I joined about a year and a half in, which you'll kind of hear a pattern in my career journey where I've just kind of fallen into that, where I'll join a founder about a year and a half in, where they've kind of maximized their time in growth. And so that's what happened there. The CEO was on a plane a lot and couldn't answer the phone for new leads when it rang. And so I just hit the ground running as far as figuring out marketing and sales from the ground up. And so did that for 9 years. And that really gave me exposure to so many different teams and organizations. And while I was doing business development and marketing there, my passion became building effective teams, because it doesn't matter how great your sales strategy or your marketing strategy is, everything rises and falls on leadership. And so really, built that passion for effective team building and healthy organization there. But in 2020, I had just kind of reached, I was VP of marketing. I reported directly to the COO/CEO. And, it was like, all right, I could still do this for another 9 years, but what if there was another learning opportunity out there for me? So went through a coaching program, which was really, really healthy for me. And I decided to start my own company called the Ready Network, where I really want to do growth consulting and coaching, because I love the intersection of sales and marketing. I really am adamant that sales and marketing should not live in silos. I think growth truly happens when the whole go-to-market engine is aligned. And so, however, I only did that for 90 days, Greg, because one of my clients, which was called Leadr, which is what we're talking about today, they offered me a full-time job. And I mean, honestly, I was really conflicted about it, because it took me a long time to leave my old company to start my own business. And so the thought of pressing pause on that to go all in full-time at a startup, I really had to process that. And now, almost 4 years later, I'm so glad I did. I'm now the Chief Marketing Officer at Leadr and have learned so much. And that's really why I joined, because I knew that I could always go back to running my own business. But to be a part of the Leadr team where I am challenged every single day, yet also working in my strength zones, it makes me better. And so, I'm learning and growing every day.
That's amazing. And it's such a cool offering. So I'm fascinated to jump into accelerating team performance. It's kind of a newer concept to sell to businesses. How do you think about the right way to package up that offering and communicate it to potential customers?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely been a journey, and we're constantly experimenting, as I'm sure all of your listeners are, with the positioning and packaging. But I think it's always important when you're answering these big, hard questions that aren't black and white to go back to your why. And so for us, Leadr was founded, our two co-founders, they were entrepreneurs previously. They built a unicorn in the tech space. It was a donation app for nonprofits. Went from like 0 to 500 in less than 4 years. 500 employees in less than 4 years. And the biggest pain point that they experienced was we cannot develop our people as fast as our company is growing. And they would try to hire people from the outside, but they weren't a culture fit. And then they would try to develop the people inside, but they didn't have the expertise, to to really go as fast as the company was. And so they looked across the landscape and they're like, man, there's so much consulting and training and there's a million books we could read, but there's not technology to support the accountability of everything we're teaching. And so that's why they built Leadr, was to really build that accountability mechanism inside of organizations so that we could develop our people, which we all know is the beginning of growth and sustaining growth. We're only as good as the people that work in our organizations. Doesn't matter how good our ideas are if we don't have excellent people that are executing on those ideas. And so for the last, the company's been around for almost 6 years. And so for almost the last 6 years, we have been adamant that we are a software company. Like, we've tried to stay as far away from consulting as we can because our founders are tech guys, you know? But what we've realized is we cannot decouple software from the training and development that needs to happen. And so, we're a SaaS company. We've been a SaaS company, but we've really been inspired lately by Brian Halligan, founder of HubSpot. Jason Lemkin's been writing a lot about this concept of 15 years ago when SaaS really became the norm. It was software as a service. And that was so revolutionary that we could have technology to support what traditionally was services or professional services and disrupted that. But now we're seeing with the market so crowded, we're inundated with technology. There's so much software fatigue that a lot of the most successful SaaS companies are actually repositioning themselves as service as a software. And so we've been really inspired by that the last few months. And that's why we've switched from just saying that we're people development software to Leadr is a people development company that provides world-class training and a powerful platform to accelerate team performance. And, we're just at the beginning of this repositioning and kind of flipping it on its head. But we've already seen in just literally a few weeks, really excitement in the market about this concept. And so we really believe that it's the future of our company. So we're excited to keep going.
That's unbelievable. I mean, positioning is such an incredible exercise. There's a book, obviously awesome, which really talks about how do you focus in on the right area to position against, right? What are you offering? And I love that you're thinking about services, software that are software as a service. I'm sure that there's a lot more folks in the market to find someone to give them that personalized touch and support, and probably not so bad that their appetite to pay for something like that is probably much higher than for a software. Yeah. I mean, that's so interesting. I think we all should be thinking at a very regular basis about what is our positioning? What is that? And are we actually right in the way that we're framing what we are in context of the problems that our target customers have?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it, Greg, because what the biggest challenge that we would run into is we don't have a problem getting demos. We don't have a problem getting acknowledgement that we're solving a very real problem in the business. Where we get stuck in our sales cycle has been, well, it's not in the budget. This sounds great. I love it. We get nodding heads. We get, you guys are amazing. Love what you do, but we don't have budget for it. Or are people going to, actually adopt it? But what we've learned is they've already got budget allocated for training. So because the way that people have traditionally solved this problem of people development is by bringing in consultants. Totally. And so we, rather than trying to find that money in the budget, which with where our economy is right now, it's almost impossible to get companies to spend new money. What we've realized is if we can position ourselves as service as a software that, hey, you're getting this incredible service that solves this real pain. And oh, by the way, our competitive advantage is that we're driving accountability with this service that we're providing through a platform. And so when you bring in a consultant from the outside and they do a great 2-day workshop and everybody's excited, but then they go back to their desk, you've got an inbox full of emails and Slack full of urgent Slacks. Those managers forget everything that they just learned. And so the platform is actually our competitive advantage to win in that space. That's really what we've seen. And we've gotten, since we've made that switch, we've gotten very little price objections. And we're seeing our opportunities go to next stages a lot quicker. And so we're really encouraged by it. And I think it would be a great exercise. I know as a CMO, for those that are listening, it's exhausting to think about you're repositioning all the time. Like I I feel you and I agree, but it's so important to just keep doing it, especially if you know that you have a problem in your sales process as you're trying to find that product market fit.
Absolutely. Did you change the product offering as you made that switch? Did you actually add more service? Did you do anything different?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So we launched a new service line called Leadr Academy. And so Leadr Academy is the training component. And what originally our idea was that we would provide, and we still are able to do this, 3 different offerings. So just training, just software, or the bundle. But what I realized on doing a few co-pilots with our account executives is if we lead with the bundle, we win. Because again, they already have it in the budget. They're already planning on investing in some sort of training for their managers. And oh, by the way, we've got this platform that supports that. So that has just been really exciting that when we lead with both the service and the software together as one product, again, it's early, but we're really encouraged by the early wins that we're seeing around that.
That's amazing. Hi, it's so inspiring. It makes so much sense. Position around the thing that people are used to buying, especially at the higher price thing, that you could be obviously better than, especially if you have software. I mean,
Yes.
it's just so, anyone here building technology, find the thing that's non-tech that you could crush comparison with. It's so obvious.
I mean, I know. Oh, sorry. I can talk about this all day, Greg. So cut me off. But
no, it's amazing.
I know I already said it, but like Brian Halligan's one of my heroes. Like they call me Holly HubSpot. I'm obsessed with HubSpot as a company. I've been following them since I was in college. I want Leadr to be for leadership development consultants what HubSpot did for marketing agencies, where they disrupted. Not only did they disrupt, but they also came alongside and helped marketing agencies see things differently. Like, hey, you can actually have a recurring revenue model. You can actually service customers through software. And my vision for Leadr is that we can come alongside, consultants in that way and say, rather than just selling one-off workshops, we can actually help you have a recurring model, and we can provide accountability and metrics and data through a platform so you can actually see the ROI of the consulting and training that you're offering. So that's my big vision, and I'm kind of just ripping off HubSpot as I try to execute it.
Totally. And it makes so much sense. So you have this new positioning, right?
Yeah.
And you're not spending money on paid really right now.
Nope.
How does that new positioning, outside of the sales process where you have it in the bundle, how does it in your marketing process start to manifest itself? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, lots of thought leadership. So when we were looking at, and this has been a longer journey than just this service as a software journey that's very new. But when I came on board about 4 years ago, I spent the first about 6 months, just doing a lot of user discovery. So co-piloting with account executives, going out to conferences and speaking and getting feedback. And we were positioning ourselves as people management software when I first joined the team. And what I realized was the objections that we were seeing the most were we were being compared to HR software or project management software. And both HR software and project management software are cheap because there's so many players in the market, and they're just systems of record. Like, it's just storing data.
Yeah.
And so I realized that we really needed to I knew we were different. We knew we were different.
Yeah.
But it took a long time for us to convince. It was lots of convincing for the prospect to understand how we were different and why it was worth paying a higher price for our software, much higher price for our software than just, doing it in Asana or a Basecamp or whatever. And so we switched our category. So I'm like, we're not playing in the people management category anymore. We are going to claim our own category because we have to communicate to the world that what we're doing is so different and so transformational that they need to pay attention. And so our category is people development software. And
that's so great. It's so straightforward. The best insights are obvious in retrospect. And that's it is so obvious. I'm sure it was a really hard earned insight, but when you say it out loud, it seems so obvious, which is part of the beauty of it.
Thank you. Our executive chairman actually told me that when I presented to him because not only we did at the same time, we did a category positioning to people development, and we launched like a revised version of our brand at the same time. And he said, Holly, it's so obvious, but I know how hard it is to come to a conclusion that's so obvious. So I will never forget that. That was years ago. And I was like, that was such an amazing compliment for him to say that.
I mean, it is true though. It does seem so obvious. Like I celebrate the beauty of the simplicity there. That's really, really incredible.
Thanks. I definitely lost a lot of sleep over it for a couple of weeks because it felt really scary. But I think that to go back to what we were just talking about, I think we need to be more free as marketing and sales leaders to play with our positioning more. And it doesn't have to be this big, heavy lift. I mean, it should be intentional, but maybe it's just updating, the tagline on your website. Maybe it's just trying a new pitch deck. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to change all the things all at once, but what are some levers you can pull early on in the funnel to kind of test some ideas? Because that really helps with learnings.
So what does that look like? So people development is your category that you said. How do you become a thought leader in that? Like, what's the strategy you're actually taking to do that?
Yeah. So we launched our newsletter. We call it the Leadr Pulse newsletter. And we did this years ago. I mean, I'm pretty sure we've been doing it for 4 years now.
Wow.
And it's funny because, I mean, maybe it's similar to what you just said. Like, it feels so obvious. I think some people would be like, ugh, newsletter. And here's the other thing. Newsletters, in my opinion, are difficult to track the ROI of because we don't really get a ton of replies and we actually really don't get a lot of clicks. It's very thought leadership heavy. Like, it is long. It's in our CEO or my voice, and it's about a principle around leadership or people development or performance management. And, we're embedding CTAs throughout it, right? Like leading to content or ebooks or a webinar that's coming up or a podcast that we've done. But we want them to be able to read it and feel inspired or have a practical takeaway without having to click or reply, which is scary as a marketer.
You want to do stuff in channel.
Right. But that's scary because when you're looking at your, your board or your executive team and you're like, I don't really know if this is working, but here's how I know it's working. We use, again, HubSpot. How many times they call it Holly Bingo at work? Like, how many times can I say it? But what I love in HubSpot is I can see, so we just broke a new company record for the largest deal we ever sold.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Awesome. It's huge. But I was able to go in HubSpot and see the CEO of this organization who was the buyer. I was able to see all of the newsletters that he interacts with. He opens almost every single newsletter that we send. He's a CEO of a massive organization.
That's incredible. And
the opens were like 10, 20, 30 open, which tells me that he's forwarding it along. And so you asked a very simple question, but I think that content that is thought leadership and long form, like a newsletter. And then we launched a podcast a few months ago. And again, it's hard to measure the impact of a podcast. Like, yes, I can measure listens. I can measure views on YouTube, but I hear a lot about it when I jump on calls with account executives and they're like, oh, you're Holly from the podcast. I'm like, people are listening. But it also enables you to upcycle and recycle all that content. You can cut it into bite-sized pieces and give it to your account executives to nurture through their campaigns. You can throw it on social media. And so that's how we've thought about claiming the category of people development, which is actually our annual theme as a company.
Is claiming the category of people development.
Yeah, that is we have the visual is like climbing Mount Everest, and every quarter or the 4 base camps to the summit. And, or I think there's 3 base camps. If you're a climber out there. But, so we've got to be thought leaders and help people think differently about why being a better leader accelerates your team's performance and drives business outcomes. So that's how we thought about it.
And it's just pursuing the journey of creating that content, finding the thought leadership, packaging it up and delivering it to people who are open to it. And then that's how you sign those huge deals. It makes so much sense. So you have your positioning, you have your content, your thought leadership. If you're not spending on paid, what type of channels are working for you? Like, what is that actually like? Where do you find new leads to bring into that funnel or other funnels?
Yeah, I just giggle because I forget how crazy it is that we're not spending money until someone points it out. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's crazy.
It's crazy.
So, and I feel like this is one of my strengths is just working, kind of what I said, like, because I joined Leadr a year and a half into the founder starting it as well. And again, like I didn't seek that out, but I've just noticed that's kind of my pattern as a growth leader. I have been forced to get scrappy. Like, honestly, it's a challenge for me. Like when we raised our Series A and we got an influx of cash, that was more challenging for me to like figure out what to do with this massive marketing budget than to operate on a $0 budget because I'm so used to just thinking scrappily. So it's actually a growth opportunity for me to figure out what to do with money. But to answer your question, when the, economy started to get really difficult, we just said, okay, like how can we continue to claim our category of people development? And what we did was we realized, okay, what are the challenges that we're facing in the sales process? Like, what are the objections we're facing? And one of them was that, well, we love what you do, but we really need to go figure this out. Like, what is our philosophy? We don't have a manager playbook. This would be a big change for our team. So we're going to go hire a consultant and then we'll come back to you guys in like a year. Like we heard that a lot. And we're like, oh, like our platform can help you today. Don't wait a year to do that. So we started going, okay, what would it look like if we found those players in our market that are solving it through a consulting perspective, that already have the framework, that already have the trust of the client, but are lacking the accountability mechanism. And so it's a really cool story. I won't get into all the details because that would be a whole nother podcast, but I've been a huge admirer of this guy named Patrick Lencioni for a really long time. He kind of created his own category in the consulting world called organizational health. And his most popular book is Ideal Team Player or 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. And so I had always dreamed, like, how cool would it be if one day Leadr was able to partner with Patrick Lencioni? Well, through several different connections and a long story, I get an email one day from their COO that says, hey, I would love to talk. We're exploring a technology platform because we're great at this consulting thing. But where we get stuck is our clients say, okay, we've got this at the executive level philosophically. How do we cascade and implement this down the org chart?
Totally.
And so, long story long, we formalized a partnership with what their company name is, the Table Group, literally a year ago last week.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you. So it's a big milestone. And so the first few months we're planning, we're dreaming together, we're building out what I've called gray labeling. So we gray labeled our product.
Wait, pause, time out.
Okay.
I love that. Gray labeling.
Yes.
That's so good. So it's not white labeling and it's not just affiliate.
Yeah.
It's this space in between.
Yes.
Did you just make that up?
I think so, Greg. I don't know if I maybe subliminally saw it somewhere and I used it, but I think I made it up. I don't know.
It's an incredible concept and it just opened my eyes to new possibilities that exist around a different kind of partnership called gray labeling, where it's like co-branded partnerships, but that's just not as fun.
Right? It's not as fun. Yeah.
It's not as fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Gray labeling. So yeah, that's what we did. So we created a different brand. So it's called Leadr Advantage because his book, one of his most popular books is called The Advantage, which is an organizational health framework. And so they consult around it, but they didn't have a software that was able to cascade it. Well, actually they did. They built one internally and they were like, it sucks. We hate it. Like, we're not tech people. We want to find tech people who can help us do this. So yeah, we came up with a brand that we share, which is called Leadr Advantage. And it is gray labeled because it's a co-brand and then it's our platform, but it has upgraded features that are specific to the package that you buy that has the frameworks from his book, The Advantage.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and we have a revenue share relationship. We have milestones, and we meet on a weekly basis. I mean, it is a very in-depth integrated partnership. And so that what it did for us. So, and then we were able to do that in 9 months. We had our first milestone was 1 million in revenue and we were able to hit that in 9 months.
1 million in software revenue.
I know. Can you believe that?
That's crazy.
Yeah. Just software revenue, not the service stuff. We hadn't launched that yet.
Wow. Holly, that's a huge partnership.
Yes. And we are so grateful to them because number one, they believe in us. Like it wouldn't have worked, of course, if we didn't have full belief in shared values and,
Totally.
The impact that both parties are trying to make in the world. So it's just the perfect partnership in every way. Yeah, we were able to leverage their credibility with our awesome platform experience to go provide a real need that existed for their audience. And so it's been really exciting. And so we hit that milestone last week and we are just really excited to keep on keeping on with that.
That's unbelievable.
I know I said a lot there, Greg, but I think the point is when you don't have budget, go find the people who like a complementary people to you in your market that you can align with and see if you can bundle or package or, how can you work together to drive your business outcomes together? And we've been able to generate consulting revenue for them because we have clients that are like, hey, we need a consultant. We're like, great. So it's been a win-win across the board.
That's unbelievable. Holly, this is incredible. I've learned so much. I have a lot to digest now. Number one, I need to go and spend a lot of time rethinking our positioning. I think positioning is an underutilized strategic asset for every marketer to think about how are we actually anchoring people on what budget and service and value are we delivering and not being swept up in the tech sexy, hot thing. It is incredible and it's inspiring. In so many ways. Two, I think the idea of taking that positioning and carving out a thought leadership in that category to really drive home that value through deep educational content. It makes so much sense. And it is incredible. You guys landed your biggest contract ever from this newsletter engagement, not even clicks, just reading. It's really cool to see that works so well.
Well, I just want to add one thing, Greg, because that partnership that we just landed, like the biggest customer ever, actually is kind of a trifecta of all three of these things we've talked about today. Yeah. So we were able to bundle services in with that. So if we had not made that decision as quickly as we did, we probably would have lost this deal. So that was the first thing we talked about. The second thing being people development. And like they really appreciated our perspective and us being bold about our perspective on that. And then third, they came to us originally from an email that the table group sent out. So that CEO subscribed to their email. They sent out an email about it. He came to our website, downloaded the overview form, and then he got subscribed to our newsletter. He opened every single one, agreed to an on-site. We flew out there and here we are. So then that's what's so frustrating, but also awesome about marketing is that
totally the multi-touch,
all of it working together. We always say, our CEO says this all the time. There's no silver bullets, just a lot of lead bullets, or it's just like
100%.
You just have to keep trying things and until you get it right,
Absolutely. And it's very cool that I know that you're a big fan of HubSpot. It's cool you have HubSpot so you could watch that journey come through with the data all talking to each other on a unified system. HubSpot's pretty incredible about that.
It is, for sure.
For sure. Amazing. Holly, this is so much fun. Thank you so much for coming here. Where can people follow you or learn more? Where can they get more information?
Yeah, just check out leadr.com. We always joke that, we can't spell because it's leadr.com. It's really just that leader with an E was way too expensive. So leadr.com. I also have a personal website. I honestly, just like so many marketers, I'm so focused on Leadr that I really don't keep it updated. But you can go there and connect with me at hollytate.com as well.
Amazing. Holly, thank you so much. Hopefully we'll have you on again soon. I'm sure that in the next few months.
I would love that. Yeah, let's do it another year from now and who knows what we'll learn in that time.
Yeah, your $1 million partnership will be $10 million. We'll have to learn all about it then. Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly. We'll talk soon.
Bye, Greg.
Rev up your ears, it's time to ignite. GTM leaders bringing secrets to light. Revenue boosters, tips now in the fast lane. Watch your profits grow.